Have you ever experienced the anticipation and excitement of wanting something special for your birthday or a holiday, carefully dropping hints to those around you, only to unwrap a gift that wasn't exactly what you had in mind? This situation is more common than we might think, and it reflects a delicate dance of giving and receiving that many of us navigate throughout our lives. The beauty of gift giving often lies not in the present itself, but in the thought and care behind it. We are encouraged to be grateful for the effort, even if the result doesn't perfectly align with our desires. Yet, there's an unspoken tension when the giver chooses to give what they want instead of what we hoped for, expecting appreciation regardless. This dynamic can create a subtle pretense where both giver and receiver bend their feelings to maintain harmony, even if there's disappointment beneath the surface. It's a shared human experience that teaches us important lessons about communication, understanding, and empathy. Reflecting on the early days of our own relationship, back in the 70s when we were in our early 20s and not yet shaped by our current beliefs, we found ourselves deeply exploring physical intimacy. Youthful energy combined with the excitement of new experiences made every moment feel like an adventure. At that time, discretion was not our foremost concern. Instead, we embraced closeness and affection wherever the moment found us. I remember vividly the joy and gratification of being able to bring my partner pleasure, and the mutual satisfaction of receiving it in return. There was a natural flow of giving and receiving that felt effortless and rewarding, creating a sense of deep connection and happiness. However, as time passed, we discovered that not all acts of intimacy were equally enjoyable for both of us. Some things that initially sparked excitement began to feel uncomfortable or less satisfying. The natural response might be to avoid those less pleasurable experiences, which many couples do. This tendency shapes the routines and patterns that define much of our intimate lives. We begin to focus on what we know works, retreating from what doesn't. While this can create a predictable rhythm, it also risks stagnation and missed opportunities for deeper connection. The key to moving beyond this is open and honest communication, a willingness to share honestly about what feels good, what doesn't, and what remains unexplored. This dialogue is essential not only for understanding your own needs, but also for truly hearing your partner's. When both people feel safe to express themselves without judgment, a new level of intimacy can emerge. One that goes far beyond physical actions to an emotional and spiritual bond. In every relationship, the balance between giving and receiving reflects a kind of dance, where the focus is less on individual gratification and more on mutual joy and satisfaction. It is an act of love to learn what brings your partner happiness, pleasure, and contentment, and then to offer that freely without an expectation of receiving the same in return. There is profound fulfillment in giving purely for the sake of the other's pleasure, a gift that continually nurtures the relationship. We have both agreed that one of the most exciting experiences is when spontaneous acts of affectionate attention are given, not with strings attached, but simply from a place of genuine desire to please and connect. This mutual generosity fosters trust and deepens the bond between partners. Sometimes, intimacy is so powerful that it moves beyond conscious control, a moment when one partner is fully focused on the other and both are caught in a ripple of shared desire and response. This can be witnessed when one lays close, attentively giving of themselves, and the other matches that energy with movements of passion and fullness. These moments remind us that the essence of intimacy is about connection, communication, and responsiveness. Yet, it's important to recognize that no one arrives at perfect understanding from the start. Assuming we know everything about what pleases our partner is a common mistake, and expecting lifelong satisfaction with a static approach is even more perilous. As our lives unfolded, getting married, raising children, managing homes and careers, the bustle of daily responsibilities often crowded out the private moments once so abundant. Sexual intimacy, which once flowed freely and easily, can sometimes get lost amidst the noise of life. Then came the added layer of faith and community, which introduced new ideas and teachings about what was considered acceptable. This sometimes complicated our understanding of intimacy, especially when external voices brought judgment or confusion. Some friends and acquaintances struggled deeply with their intimate lives. Some women felt uncomfortable with certain expressions of closeness, and even distanced themselves from intimacy altogether. Men, too, sometimes struggled with feelings of inadequacy or frustration, fearing their efforts weren't enough to sustain the relationship. Marriage is not only a commitment of hearts, but also an agreement of exclusivity, an understanding that your partner is the sole source of emotional and physical closeness. When one partner's needs aren't met, it can leave a void, encouraging doubts and vulnerabilities that threaten the very foundation of trust. Therefore, it's vital that both partners remain attentive and willing to provide truly what the other needs, not merely what they themselves prefer. This requires cooperation, openness, and a mutual desire to nurture each other's happiness. Throughout our years together, our so-called intimacy revolution has been fueled by honest conversations about what excites and pleases us. The courage to reveal our true desires without fear of judgment or rejection has been transformative. Unfortunately, many couples shy away from such openness, especially in the early stages of a relationship, out of fear of losing acceptance. These unspoken wishes and curiosities can lie dormant, waiting hopefully for a future moment to be shared. Within Christian marriages, this is sometimes even more complicated, as partners wrestle with feelings about what is considered appropriate or spiritual. Yet, intimacy is a vital part of the marital bond and deserves gentle exploration with love and respect. The journey of giving and receiving affection is not merely about physical acts. It is about nurturing a relationship where both partners feel heard, valued, and deeply cared for. By opening lines of communication and learning to respond to the unique needs of each other, couples can move beyond assumptions and into a realm of shared joy. The practice of thoughtful giving, unencumbered by expectations, becomes a gift in itself, one that keeps love vibrant and alive throughout the many seasons of life. Giving pleasure to your partner without expecting anything in return is one of the most intimate and fulfilling acts in a relationship. This kind of generosity deepens the bond between two people and creates a safe space where both can fully express their desires and vulnerabilities. There have been many moments in our relationship when one of us would be completely focused on the other, and the intensity of that connection would send waves of excitement through both our bodies. Sometimes the sheer joy of witnessing your partner's pleasure ignites a fire within you, moving you almost instinctively to respond with matching energy and enthusiasm. These experiences remind us of the power of selfless affection and the importance of tuning into each other without distraction. One of the common pitfalls in intimacy is the assumption that we already know everything there is to understand about what satisfies our partner. This mindset can become a barrier to growth and exploration. It can lead to complacency, where both partners fall into routine behaviors that may no longer fulfill their deeper needs. Even worse, expecting a partner to be content with the same patterns for the entirety of a long-term relationship can result in frustration and disconnection. Intimacy, much like any other aspect of life, evolves, and it requires continuous attention, curiosity, and care to keep its spark alive. As we transitioned from dating into marriage, life naturally became busier and more complex. There were children to raise, homes to care for, pets to look after, and careers to build. All these responsibilities gradually eroded the privacy and ease we once enjoyed as a young couple. The energy and time that intimacy demands could often feel pushed aside by the practical demands of daily life. Moreover, our journey into faith introduced new perspectives on sexuality, some of which complicated our understanding of what was appropriate or wrong within marriage. We found ourselves navigating not only our desires, but also the expectations and teachings of our religious community. Through conversations with friends and observing others around us, we recognized that many couples face similar struggles. Some women found themselves so uncomfortable with certain aspects of intimacy that they withdrew completely, creating emotional and physical distance from their spouse. Some men felt helpless and discouraged, believing that their efforts to please their partner were futile and that their marriage was heading toward emotional stasis or worse. These realities are all too common, yet often remain unspoken, leaving couples feeling isolated and misunderstood. Marriage is, by its nature, a monogamous union that includes an exclusive sexual partnership. This exclusivity means that each partner becomes the primary, if not the only, source of sexual satisfaction and emotional closeness. When one partner's needs go unmet, It can create fertile ground for feelings of dissatisfaction and longing that may threaten the relationship's stability. It is therefore incumbent upon both spouses to remain attentive to the needs of the other, striving always to understand and provide what brings their partner happiness and contentment. This is not a task for one partner alone. It requires mutual cooperation, empathy, and an ongoing commitment to each other's well-being. Through years of experience, we came to realize that an intimacy revolution is possible when couples embrace honest and open communication about their desires. This revolution involves shedding assumptions and fears, and choosing instead to be candid about what excites us and what leaves us feeling disconnected. It means breaking through the barriers that silence our true feelings, barriers often constructed before marriage during the courting process because we fear judgment or rejection. Many people carry these unspoken desires into marriage, hoping that one day they might find the courage to express them. Unfortunately, this is sometimes even more challenging within Christian marriages, where concerns about what is right and wrong can suppress open dialogue about sexual preferences and pleasures. Yet the act of sharing and listening about intimate needs is fundamental to growing intimacy over time. It creates a foundation upon which fear and misunderstanding cannot thrive. We found that the most passionate and fulfilling experiences often come from a place of genuine vulnerability and safe communication. By learning to listen attentively and respond lovingly to each other's wants, the partnership deepens beyond the physical into an emotional and spiritual connection that transforms the way we experience closeness. As we learned to embrace this approach, we discovered that the best way to satisfy our partner is not to impose our own preferences, but to genuinely seek out what brings them joy. This might mean trying new things or adjusting old habits, always with consent and enthusiasm from both sides. It requires patience and flexibility because what worked yesterday might not be exactly what brings bliss today. The journey of discovery is ongoing and ever-changing. Sometimes it takes small adjustments, sometimes major conversations, but it always calls for respect and kindness. Ultimately, intimacy within marriage thrives when both partners prioritize each other's pleasure and fulfillment. The willingness to give without immediate expectation fosters a cycle of love and gratitude, where both receive without pressure or calculation. This kind of generosity strengthens not only the physical connection, but also the emotional trust that holds a relationship together through life's inevitable challenges. Our experiences have shown that when intimacy is nurtured through honest conversation and attentive giving, it can become one of the richest and most rewarding aspects of life together. It invites couples to continually learn about each other's evolving needs and to celebrate the unique ways they can bring happiness. In this space, the true power of love is revealed not as possession or expectation, but as generous, joyful surrender to the happiness of the beloved. Oral affection can be one of the most intimate and pleasurable experiences shared between partners, especially when approached with attention, care, and open communication. For many women, this kind of closeness goes beyond physical touch. It invites a connection that can bring lasting satisfaction and deep emotional bonding. Usually, oral affection involves the use of tongue, lips, and mouth to create gentle and stimulating sensations, often accompanied by the careful use of fingers or other tools. What makes it truly special is the ability to respond to subtle cues, to sense when a partner is close to a peak of pleasure, and then to nurture that feeling with patience and persistence. One of the challenges, however, is something known today as edging, where a woman might be brought to the brink of climax multiple times, only for the sensation to retreat before release. This can frustrate both partners, especially if patience or enthusiasm wanes, but with focus and communication, the experience can become even more fulfilling by making the eventual climax more powerful and memorable. A man can also experience this process, reaching a hanging point where anticipation heightens the pleasure. People often underestimate the importance of clear and ongoing feedback during these moments. For example, when a woman says, "That's right, stay there," it's a direct request to continue the same motion or pressure, not to switch things up or try something new. This shows how vital it is to stay attuned to your partner's cues, whether verbal, vocal, or nonverbal. Moans, whispers, and sighs provide affirmations, building confidence and reinforcing what feels good. Verbal communication with simple instructions like softer, harder, or lower can dramatically improve the experience for both. Though oral affection often focuses primarily on the sensitive area under the hood, the clitorisa, True appreciation comes from exploring every part of the vulva, including the inner thighs and pelvis. Soft, sensual kisses along the inner thighs can be incredibly stimulating and are sometimes overlooked. The journey toward satisfying oral affection often leads to multiple climaxes in one session. It is not uncommon to experience 5 or 6 waves of pleasure over time, not necessarily all at once, but spread through the encounter. The physical and emotional intensity can become almost overwhelming, prompting expressions through moans, gentle cries, or even playful and passionate words. Sometimes the woman takes the lead, becoming more active in the experience, riding her partner in a way that blends dominance and connection. At other times, additional help from the partner, such as holding and guiding hips or buttocks, can introduce new sensations and deepen the pleasure. Each relationship is unique, and learning what pleases your partner means trying new things, but only with mutual willingness. This requires trust, patience, and respect for boundaries, always ready to adjust based on honest feedback. What feels wonderful at one moment may change, and what is off limits to one partner must be honored without pressure. Communication is the foundation that supports all exploration. Involvement of fingers as secondary stimulation often enhances the experience. For some women, having fingers inserted just inside the opening in a palm-up position, fingers slightly curved and pressing against the soft flesh, can add immense pleasure when combined with oral attention. The combination of internal and external stimulation brings a richness that deepens climax. While not everyone enjoys all aspects of physical connection, some women find that occasional exploration of more sensitive areas, approached carefully and hygienically, can add new dimensions to their experience. Using plenty of lubrication and moving slowly with patience are key to comfort and enjoyment. Over time, open discussions about desires and boundaries have allowed us to explore nearly everything together, including practices that might have seemed unthinkable early on. Establishing a foundation of trust, honesty, and cleanliness have made it easier to try new things, always ensuring that both partners feel comfortable and safe. This mutual respect nurtures intimacy far beyond the physical. At our stage in life, our shared experiences have made our physical relationship deeply satisfying. Of course, challenges arise, whether from health issues or emotional struggles, that sometimes place limits on our intimacy. But the love and care we have built continue to nourish our connection, allowing us to enjoy moments of closeness more fully than ever before. The key to this ongoing joy lies in communication, responsiveness, and a consistent willingness to give pleasure with an open heart and mind. As men age, natural changes occur that can affect their anatomy and sexual experiences, and it is important for partners to recognize and understand these shifts without placing blame or harboring misconceptions. Every man is unique in how he responds to affection and pleasure, making open communication essential for maintaining a satisfying, intimate connection. Discussing preferences candidly helps both partners remain attuned to what brings enjoyment and comfort, and can create opportunities to explore new ways of expressing closeness. For example, some men find gentle stimulation of the nipples while receiving oral affection highly pleasurable, adding an extra layer of sensation that can enhance the overall experience. Others may appreciate more adventurous approaches, like gentle exploration near the rectal area, always practiced with consent, proper hygiene, and care. Prostate massage is another technique that, when introduced thoughtfully, can provide profound pleasure during moments of intimacy, deepening the connection between partners. The act of oral affection for men involves more than just focusing on one area. Paying attention to the entire genitalia, including sensitive spots that may be less obvious, can greatly increase pleasure. For example, the underside of the penile head houses the frenulum, a highly sensitive band of tissue that responds wonderfully to gentle licking, sucking, or even stroking with a lubricated thumb. Incorporating steady hand motions in tandem with oral stimulation, such as gripping the shaft and maintaining synchronized up and down movements, often produces heightened sensations leading to a more satisfying climax. Adding lubrication can provide smoothness and comfort, particularly when incorporating touches to the scrotum. Gently milking the skin in this area, focusing on the attachment point beneath the shaft, can create new waves of enjoyment. It is important to know that this does not mean applying pressure to the testicles themselves, but rather the surrounding skin, which is quite sensitive in its own right. Looking up into a partner's eyes during oral intimacy can have a powerful effect, deepening emotional connection and intensifying arousal. Eye contact combines vulnerability and trust, creating a shared moment of closeness that extends beyond the physical. The visual connection reminds both partners of the intimacy and affection underpinning the act, enhancing the experience far beyond mere technique. As men grow older, it is common for them to take longer to reach climax, but the pleasure often becomes more intense when it finally happens. Acknowledging this change is important for both partners, as it may require adjustments in pace and approach. For the giving partner, oral affection can also be physically demanding over time. The muscles of the mouth and lips may tire, and certain positions could become uncomfortable. Incorporating other forms of stimulation alongside oral acts, such as manual touch or pinching of sensitive areas like the nipple scan, alleviates some strain while maintaining excitement. This blend of sensations keeps the experience dynamic and pleasurable from beginning to end. In addition to external stimulation, some men find pleasure in gentle anal contact, such as the insertion of a lubricated finger or careful use of the tongue to stimulate the anal opening. This requires trust and thorough communication, and must always be practiced with cleanliness and patience. For men comfortable with this, the prostate can become an additional source of pleasure when stimulated appropriately, often generating intense sensations during climax. These practices should only be embraced when both partners feel secure and enthusiastic about exploring them. Together, we have found that a combination of attentive oral focus, manual stimulation, and occasional exploration of less conventional areas keeps our intimacy fresh and deeply satisfying. Having honest conversations about preferences and boundaries has allowed us to continually adjust and refine our approach, ensuring that both of us feel valued and cared for. This ongoing dialogue is perhaps the most important component of maintaining a rich and enjoyable sexual relationship. As age brings changes to the body, embracing those changes with openness and patience fosters a deeper understanding of each other's evolving needs. It encourages couples to discover new ways to express affection, pleasure, and love that are both comfortable and exhilarating. Through mutual respect and attentive communication, intimacy can grow stronger and more fulfilling with time, enriching the lifelong journey of partnership and connection. The journey of intimacy within a committed relationship is one of continual growth, exploration, and mutual care. It is a path paved with trust, respect, and a shared willingness to discover the unique ways each partner finds joy and connection. This process requires openness to trying new things while always honoring boundaries and comfort levels. When both people approach their physical relationship with curiosity and kindness, new depths of pleasure and closeness emerge, enriching not only their sex life but their emotional and spiritual bond as well. Intimacy becomes a living, evolving conversation, shaped by honesty and tenderness rather than routine or expectation. At the heart of a fulfilling intimate relationship lies communication, clear, ongoing, and compassionate. No amount of tips or techniques can replace the unique understanding partners develop through sharing their desires, fears, and boundaries. Finding out what brings the greatest pleasure involves attentive listening to both spoken words and subtle cues. Each person's body and preferences are different, and what works wonderfully in one moment may feel less appealing in another. This ongoing dialogue about likes and dislikes, coupled with the patience to explore together, creates a foundation where both partners feel seen and valued. Some couples find that incorporating additional stimulations, such as gentle fingerwork alongside oral affection, adds new flavors to their experiences. For others, occasional exploration of less traditional areas might be welcomed, provided cleanliness and comfort are prioritized. Taking the time to prepare and ensuring both partners agree enthusiastically fosters a sense of safety and enhances the pleasure derived from these acts. It is important to acknowledge that consent is always the cornerstone of any intimate exploration. No one should feel pressured or obligated to engage in activities they do not want to try. Respecting a partner's limits strengthens trust and makes future adventures in intimacy all the more rewarding. As relationships grow, partners may discover that their bodies change due to health conditions, stress, or aging. These changes can affect not only physical sensations but also energy levels and emotional openness. Recognizing these shifts and adapting with empathy helps maintain a fulfilling connection. Sometimes taking things slower, changing positions, or introducing new forms of affection can revitalize intimacy during these times. The willingness to be flexible and creative keeps the connection alive through life's natural ebbs and flows. One of the most beautiful aspects of a long-term intimate relationship is how pleasure and love intertwine. Beyond the physical acts, the emotional warmth, shared laughter, and gentle reassurance become integral parts of closeness. A tender touch, understanding glance, or whispered encouragement can sometimes mean more than any technique. Celebrating the small moments alongside the grand expressions of passion nurtures a deep, multifaceted bond. The role of gratitude and appreciation must not be underestimated in sustaining intimacy. When partners feel appreciated, not just for their efforts, but for their vulnerability and willingness to share themselves, it creates a positive cycle of giving and receiving. Each act of affection, no matter how big or small, becomes a gift that deepens the relationship and encourages even greater openness. This atmosphere of mutual gratitude fosters joy and strengthens the resilience of love in the face of challenges. In all relationships, challenges will inevitably arise. Health problems, emotional struggles, or external stressors sometimes diminish the frequency or intensity of intimacy. It is during these times that patience, kindness, and honest communication become even more essential. Supporting each other through difficult periods not only helps preserve intimacy, but can also lead to new insights and growth. Sometimes slowing down and simply being present with one another creates the most meaningful connection, paving the way for renewed passion when the time is right. In the end, the most satisfying intimate relationships are those where both partners commit to learning, growing, and giving from the heart. By sharing joys and vulnerabilities equally, couples build a partnership where love and pleasure flourish hand in hand. With continual dialogue, respect for boundaries, and a spirit of generosity, intimacy becomes a source of endless renewal and delight, enriching every aspect of life together. The journey is ongoing, full of discovery and deepening affection, and it is one of the greatest gifts that partnership can offer.